Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Reata Horsemanship. I'm Luke Brown. I'm very excited to be with you here today on this beautiful day. We might get a little rain today. It doesn't really look like it, but it's going to be cooler today by about 15 degrees compared to yesterday, so I'm excited about that. And today is Fun Friday, and I hope you guys have had a beautiful week, a wonderful week. I hope you've been very successful this week and been able to progress in every aspect of your life that you're trying to progress in. And the mule that's behind me right now is Wyatt. He's the coming 3-year-old mule that's with me for saddle training. And for his owner, I do have my saddle on him right now, just because I've been doing some high-level desensitizing today, dragging a plastic sheet with him on the ground, and also doing some driving with him. So I wanted to do that in my older, kind of beat-up saddle and not mess with your saddle until I have saddled him in your saddle. Anyway, that was a personal note. He's doing well. He's coming right along, and this is the end of his first week, and probably next week sometime I'll be riding him. He's a very smart mule, and mules are a lot of fun. They're very intelligent, and you have to have, sometimes I would say, extra sensitivity to mules because they can require that. They're relatively sensitive, emotional beings, and they can hold a grudge if you're not careful. So it's a lot of fun training mules. I love doing it. I love training horses and mules, and anything that I can ride, I love to train. And today for Fun Friday, I want to tell you a quick joke. Well, before I tell you the jokes, just I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We're going up to Stacy's daughter, my stepdaughter, her daughter's pool, and gonna enjoy some family time up there this evening. And we look forward to my mini clinics this weekend. So if any of you would like to come out to a mini clinic, you're welcome to come. Anybody's welcome to come and watch from 8 o'clock in the morning right now. From 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock, we have a mini clinic, and we're basically doing stuff throughout that whole clinic. And tomorrow and this weekend, we're going to be saddling and bridling, and we've gotten to that point. This is the 5th mini clinic out of 8 that we're doing for the level 1 mini clinics. And so if you want to get out here to Reata Horsemanship and come watch those clinics, you're certainly welcome to. And today for the joke I wanted to tell was about mules. Because I'm working with Wyatt, I wanted to tell a mule joke. So here it goes. There's an old farmer, and he had a wife, and they had been married many, many years, and his wife had become very accustomed to basically verbally abusing this old farmer. And so they lived on an old farm out in Kentucky, and the farmer loved being outside and loved being with his mule. He had a mule, and he loved farming with that mule, especially plowing his fields. And this particular fall, he was plowing his fields before the snow came in, and he would spend many hours out there plowing all of his fields with just that one mule. And when he would come in for breakfast or lunch or dinner, his wife would just constantly nag at him and complain about him and just be very verbally abusive to him. And he just didn't enjoy being around her. So he loved spending time with his mule. So he would come in for lunch because he had to eat, and then he'd go out and work with his mule and farm his land, and that's where he found joy. And so one day his wife decided to be a little nicer, and she decided to bring him lunch instead of his coming in for lunch. So he was out there, and just about lunchtime she came out and met him in the field and had lunch for him. Well, as soon as she gave him his lunch, she started nagging and complaining and causing issues with him, and making it real uncomfortable for him, like she always does. But this time she had come out in the field, and it kind of interrupted his time with his mule and his farming time. And so she as she was nagging and complaining and causing problems with him, she ended up kind of walking behind the mule and not paying very close attention. Well, the mule kicked her right in the head, and she died right there in the field. And the farmer was distraught and very sad about this whole circumstance. Even though she had been a trouble for him, she still was his wife, and they had a great life together. And so the townspeople in the town close to them, they all heard about what had happened, and so many people came to the funeral. A few days later, there was a funeral, and it was a beautiful funeral, and the pastor gave a beautiful sermon, and his wife was dressed in a yellow dress, and she just looked very pretty in her casket. And at the end of the funeral, everybody came to give their condolences, to offer their condolences to this old farmer. And as they walked by, the preacher was paying attention to what was going on and just watching. And as the women walked by, just about every woman that walked by, they would say something to him quietly, and he would nod his head, yes. Every time he would nod his head, yes. But then curiously, when the men would come by and they would say something to him, he would say no. No, he would shake his head no. So the women would come by, yes, and the men would come by and say something, and he'd say no. And the pastor just found that very curious. So at the end, after everybody had passed by and gone on home, the pastor came up and he said, I'm very curious, when the women came up to you and they were talking to you, almost every time you shook your head yes and said yes. And he said, what were the women saying? And he said, the women were saying, oh, what a beautiful dress she had, and she looked so beautiful. And he would say yes. Yes, and he would agree with them. And then when the men, so the pastor asked him, well, what did the men say when they came by and you kept saying no to? And he said, they were asking if my mule was for sale. Oh. I hope that wasn't too inconsiderate. Oh, but I thought that joke was pretty funny. I hope you have some tough skin and can handle that joke, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, be thankful, live with purpose, live with passion, and as always, stay safe in the saddle.